So we've prepared some formal remarks and slides, and I will start off by talking a little bit about our centers and the workshop structure, and then I will turn over the podium to Dr. Ornstein to just talk a little bit about the application process, and then we hope to have, I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to finish up with Q&A. Nadia, do you want to advance the slide? Great. So I want to first note that we are really excited that this is a workshop that is being co-organized and co-convened with 3 centers. It's a true partnership with the Johns Hopkins Economics of Alzheimer's Disease and Services Center, or HEAD Center, which is funded by the National Institute on Aging. Our sister center, the Johns Hopkins Alzheimer's Disease Resource Center for Minority Aging Research, which is led by Dr. Roland Thorpe and Joe Gallo, as well as Dr. George Reebok, who was one of the inaugural directors and who's here with us today, which is also funded by the National Institute on Aging. And then our third partner center is the Hopkins Center for Health Disparity Solutions, which is funded by the National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities and is led by Dr. Gaskin, and Dr. Thorpe is also heavily involved. The workshop objectives are several-fold. We seek to build capacity and draw in new scientists who are engaged in dementia-related economics and services disparities research. We seek to promote the use of resources across our centers, including curated data sources, techniques, and methods that draw on population-based data. We want to foster new cross-institutional research collaborations that bridge these 3 centers. We would like to expand the pool of future pilot applications with seed resources available to you from promising scientists from both Hopkins as well as external institutions. And we look forward to opportunities for our centers co-funding some of these pilot applications that are where there is alignment with our missions and research themes. And then finally, we want to raise awareness of the resources that are available through our centers. And before I move on, I just want to stop and invite Dr. Thorpe and Dr. Reebok to say a few words about the Johns Hopkins RICMAR.
So yeah, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Roland Thorpe. I have the privilege of serving as one of the directors of the RICMAR program, and I'm so happy and glad to see that my colleague George Reebok is here today. While George has stepped down from serving as director because of his retirement, we've come to an agreement that he would stay on with us, and we're excited to know that he's now our senior advisor for the RICMAR, and we're excited to have him in his new role. Just a little bit about our RICMAR Center. Our RICMAR Center, we focus on trying to provide resources for early career faculty who seek to understand health disparities across the life course as it relates to ADRD, or also understanding intervention development as it relates to specific racial ethnic groups as it relates to ADRD. And we also, within our community core, we have a focus on recruitment and retention. I'll just pause here now to see if George has anything else to add.
Thank you, Roland, and I'm really excited about this upcoming workshop and that we are able to co-sponsor it. As Roland said, I'm now a senior advisor for our RICMAR Center, and as Dr. Wolf mentioned, one of the goals of this workshop is to provide resources that bridge across these 3 different centers And our Johns Hopkins RICMAR has a variety of resources that you can avail yourself of in terms of we've got an analytic core that provides methodological expertise, and including expertise in mixed methods research and qualitative studies. We have access to a variety of large data sets that you can use to address your research questions. We sponsor a year-long professional development series that includes topics of interest that may help you in terms of developing your research proposals. And we have a deep set of program faculty who are always available and willing to help in terms of mentoring and helping you advance your ideas. So again, we are just delighted to be part of this, and we look forward to getting to know you all and working with you as we prepare for this workshop next June.
Great, thanks, Roland and George. So I'm going to say a few words about the workshop experience. The workshop will turn more to specifics about the application process later, but the workshop will take place in early June. We will be sharing pre-reading assignments and learning activities in advance of the workshop that will be sort of solidified during the workshop to establish a foundation in dementia, including research terminology, concepts, and theories. We look forward to convening a 2-day workshop in Baltimore that will include experts from all 3 centers. The workshop will include the support for travel and hotel accommodations for individuals who are accepted into the workshop. We also will be talking later about the symposium that will be convened immediately on the day following the workshop, and Dr. Ornstein will be talking a little bit more about the symposium. I also noticed that Dr. Polsky was here, and he may also want to say a few words when we talk about the symposium. The workshop will, for accepted participants, we will pair you with a mentor who is working in your identified area of interest to develop and refine your research proposal. And we will be working within small groups to refine ideas and eliciting feedback from other participants as well as faculty from the workshop to refine your ideas and to co-present at the end of the second day. The workshop will include network opportunities to interact with other participants as well as faculty to facilitate continued mentoring as appropriate following the workshop. And during the workshop, we anticipate a variety of different kinds of activities, including hearing from federal program officers about funding opportunities through various institutes and foundations, as well as hearing more about pilot funding opportunities through the centers, as well as how to access data through our remote data enclave, as well as other resources and data sets that may be available through the RICMAR and the Hopkins Center for Health Disparities Solutions. So I wanted to highlight just selected participating faculty and speakers who have already committed to being a part of our workshop. And just to highlight that this is a highly interdisciplinary group with varied expertise in clinical care and geriatrics, in models of care, health services, research and outcomes, methods, as well as economics, including population-based analyses, as well as mixed methods. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Ornstein.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. And just to kind of go through a little bit of the how do we make this happen? In terms of eligibility, we are focusing on postdoctoral fellows and junior faculty who we think of meeting NIH criteria for early stage investigator. However, we are also interested in working with mid-career investigators who may be transitioning to research different from what they've been doing, that is aligned with what Jennifer has just described. So we are open, and if you're not sure if you are eligible, please ask either at this session or otherwise. And we do want to highlight that we are really encouraging applicants from underrepresented racial and ethnic groups, as well as individuals with disabilities. So we really are trying to make sure that individuals who are interested in this will be able to participate. So if you're not sure about eligibility, please ask us. And so we've tried very hard to streamline the application process for everyone. There is a deadline because we do need deadlines. So it's after the new year in 2023. For those of you who like QR codes, you can scan it and have fun with it, complete it right now. But basically, we really tried to streamline this so this is not asking for too much of your time, but we do need to know about your project. We need to know what you want to do and who you are. And the reason for this is we want to make sure that this workshop will suit your needs and that it will work. So we do ask for a summary of proposed research projects within 300 words, which really is not that much. You will see we will ask for some sort of bio sketch or a CV, as well as at least one letter of support, a professional reference. Everything can be submitted online, and you can access it right here. So we can kind of go through that later, the details, as questions emerge. And again, applications are evaluated based on, we are considering who you are as an investigator, and really looking at the study you're proposing, with the idea that where is this going to go? Is this something that you could benefit from attending this session? And it really is promising research that you can get funding for, you can get publications, that is important for the field. And again, that fits within the criteria we defined in terms of what interests we have here that we're trying to grow through doing this workshop. So those are sort of the three areas that we will be looking at. Next slide, please, Nadia. I do see a question in there. There are only one reference as needed. Again, we really are trying to make it so that we can get applications. We really want people to participate in this, people that can benefit from this workshop. And so we kind of decided to put in some sample proposal ideas. And this is just to give you an idea of, this is a very interdisciplinary group. There are many different topics that we could cover here. So we want to engage in, folks interested in all of these areas. For example, there's a lot of work in racial disparities and dementia care in nursing homes. So if you're all interested in nursing home research, that will work. If you're interested in safety issues in the home setting, that's also of interest. Work around financial stress, economic ramifications of caregiving in the dementia setting would also work. Again, not limited to these kinds of proposal ideas, which we will share this slide set with the group so you can see, but just to get a sense of the kinds of work that would be appreciated, which we think that this symposium can really support.
Can you clarify if the scope of the work is US based or US context?
That's a great question.
So that is a great question. Our center is primarily US based, but we are certainly open to proposals that are thematically aligned with our center, but that have more of a cross country comparison.
Mhm. And were there other questions that maybe we lost from the previous
Yeah.
Zoom session chat?
Catherine, this is George. There was a question
were.
from Vicky Chen, who I don't think made it back to the call here, but she was asking whether or not you needed a PhD to participate in the workshop. I think she's a Hopkins master's student. She's now working at Hopkins as a data analyst, but she was wondering if you needed a PhD.
So that's a great question. It's not
Yes.
something that we had talked about in terms of eligibility at the outset. I think we would need to come back together as a leadership team to make a decision. And it sounds like, George, you know, Vicky, and maybe we can individually outreach once we've had a chance to discuss internally.
Yeah, she just joined the meeting, Jennifer. Okay. Yeah.
That question, if you're not sure if you meet eligibility criteria as we've designated, please reach out and we will certainly consider this on a case-by-case basis. The other question is about average number of applications submitted and successful applications. This particular workshop is brand new, exactly, sort of coming together like this. So we hope to get a lot of interest, and I can see from those attending this session that there is a lot of interest so far. And I can't say how many. We will try to accommodate all of the applications that really, meet our criteria that we feel that our workshop can support. So I know that's not a definitive answer, but it's not going to be, we're only taking 3 people. We really want to sort of support the community that's interested in this work.
And I'll just say that sort of we are selfishly interested in bringing in people to the field and understanding and working with you to help strengthen your proposals to our pilot program. So we sort of view this as an opportunity, as a win-win for us to get to know each other and to work, collaboratively to help strengthen your ideas.
Okay.
Thank you. There's a new question about timeline if someone's submitting a KO1. I think it's fine to go ahead. You can benefit from this. You may have to do a resubmission. So I think it would be wonderful to still apply.
So we have a question. Do you have any recommendations for size or scope of proposed research study? Do you recommend tailoring it for a specific pilot funding opportunity? I think a lot of this will depend on career stage. So if you are, a newly minted PhD working, as a part of a postdoctoral program, we'll probably want a time, I guess for all purposes, a more time limited project. I think if you have a specific pilot funding opportunity in mind, it's always advantageous to tailor. So I think a lot of it really will depend on sort of where you are, but the workshop really is intended to help you refine your ideas and ideally draw you in to be part of our community and make available resources and data sets available to you, and including potentially drawing from those data sets in a subsequent pilot application that would be either individually supported by one of our centers or co-funded across multiple centers.
And just to kind of add to that, that during the workshop, you'll be assigned a mentor who will help you develop your idea in different ways. So you might come in with something really big, which maybe you will do eventually, but we might help you to sort of tailor it so it's something that you could achieve, in a year's time via a pilot.
So one of the questions is, are translational and/or clinical studies in line with this workshop, as it seems like most examples provided earlier are more health policy related or applied studies? So that's a great question. Our centers broadly are more aligned with services research, population-based social science research, although there is an intersection and some blurring across the two, but in general, the HEADS Center is more focused, as well as the Hopkins Center for Health. Roland, I'm looking at you. That Hopkins Center for Health Disparity Solutions, my understanding, is more focused on place-based research.
Yes, that's the case.
And I'll just say that the pilot's funding opportunities are relatively shorter term and not enormous in magnitude, and so are sort of more aligned with secondary types of analyses.
So Jennifer, can I piggyback on that? Because this
Sure.
is something that we've experienced. I've experienced in the RIGMAR and when the Hopkins Center for Health Disparity Solution. When thinking about pilot awards, you want to think of something that's well defined and can get achieved technically within 10 months, I would say, because you're going to have some spillover across these things. And the idea is, what we want to do is we want to help you get that pilot accomplished, and we want to help you get it published so it can become preliminary data for a larger external grant. So when you're thinking about what you're trying to work on, you want to think broader. What is the next grant I'm writing? How can I use this and the expertise that will be provided to me to help me launch to that next grant? Does that help people? We're thinking about scope, because that's what we're here and trying to do. And that is the thrust, the major thrust of each one of our centers, is to launch people's careers. And if you come in with a big, broad pie in the sky scope, it's going to be difficult for us to see the utility to move it forward. So think well-defined and get with your mentors. And so you can, when you work with your mentors, they're going to push you. So just know that you're going to be pushed to go, well, at least I will. I'm not going to speak on the other half of it. I will. I know I will. And Jennifer's worked with me before. So that's why she's smiling, and George has as well. We want it well-defined, not because we don't think what you're planning to do is great. We want to help you get to the next step.
Thanks, Roland. Those are great points.
Yeah.
There's another question about whether this will be one time or will there be a continuation. We've discussed that. We would love to try to foster continuation of colleagues. This is a networking event. That's part of it. That's part of why we're really trying hard to do this in person. We think that's an important for this stage of development, really, to have that network. So we will try to do that. And so thank you for mentioning that as well.
And I'll just chime on that all of our centers have ongoing activities. So there's, this workshop is part of a continuum of activities. We have seminars, we have working groups, and this is a way for us to get to know you and to network with you and to help identify where there may be synergy so that we can pull you in as appropriate into our centers.
Another follow-up, I think if you're planning to make a submission, I think you can still submit to this project. I think that would be fine. If you have some specific concerns, just reach out and we can talk to you about it individually, but I think for sure you should be submitting.
So there's a follow-up asking, clarifying that translational is meaning biobehavioral study using secondary analyses with specific aims already defined. Yes, absolutely. That sounds like it would be well aligned with the goals of the workshop.
Folks can also take themselves off of mute and ask questions too, if they would like.
Well,
okay.
If we've answered all of your questions, then we can certainly give you 20 minutes back in your day. And we also are very happy to take questions by email. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to Nadia, and she can forward along your questions for our input, after today.
Thanks, everyone.